Okay, it looks like I'm recording. Thanks, everybody. We got a nice group today, so thank you for joining. We got a couple of things. This is normally our department head meeting, but we are going to have a public hearing on the budget that we're going to start with, so that we can pass the budget. We've gone through it. I think I've gone through it with most. Right now we do have a budget that stays within the 2% tax cap. One important factor of that is that while we will start the DPW building this year, the first bond payment on the DPW building is not due for 1 year after receipt, which will push it back into the following year. So we're staying within the 2% tax cap. We are using 100,000 out of what is a relatively healthy fund balance, which we tend to do some portion of that each year. And that's based on what comes in for actual revenues and actual expenses at the end of the year, how much of that rolls into that fund balance, and how much we're allowed to keep as well. So I will open the public hearing here. Tonight's public hearing is being held for purposes of hearing public comment on the proposed budget for the Village of Athens for the fiscal year ending May 31st, 2021. Bear in mind, I have muted everybody. So if you wish to make a comment, please unmute yourself and make a comment. If you're having any trouble with that, you can also type in the chat, and hopefully I'll be able to see that. Amy will help me out to make sure I don't miss anything in the chat. She's much more savvy about this than I am. All right, so is there any public comment on the budget? We'll go public first before we have any comments from the board, if that's all right. Giving it a little extra time, a little awkward silence, just because if it's like me, it takes a few seconds to realize we haven't unmuted. Are there any public comments on the budget? Okay, I'm not going to end the public comment session on that because people may have comments on comments that are made. Sorry, I'm admitting additional participants here. Comments that are made by board members. So I will now open it up to the board. Do you have any comments? Do any of the board members have comments?
I do have one. The whole budget, for the most part, looks good to me. Mm-hmm. I don't want to jump around too much ahead on the agenda here because I see it's towards the end. But there is an issue I see with $28,000 being budgeted for lawn care for this year.
Okay.
I don't know if you want me to go over that now or wait till the end on the agenda.
Why don't you go ahead and talk about it now?
Okay. Well, back on for the 2017 and 2018 budget year, it was budgeted for $12,000. $12,425 was actually spent for that year. For the 2018 to 2019 fiscal year, it was also budgeted for $12,000. $7,640 was actually spent for that year, and I think the reason why that amount was lower from the previous year because if I remember correctly, we had a dry summer, so the lawns didn't need to be mowed as much. Just last year, the budget, and it was in the budget for the 19 to 20 fiscal year, was $18,000. It was actually spent. The actual amount spent was $19,295. As we all know, we ended up going with two different companies for that season. So the first company, it was actually spent $7,275, and then the second company that came in after them, from August, September, and October, $12,020 was spent just for that second company. So in 2 years' time, we've more than doubled the amount of lawn care costs in the budget, which I have a serious issue with. And we discussed this at the last meeting that that we wouldn't accept that bid and we would put it out for bid. The issue is I can't tell you the last time I read a newspaper, and I know a lot of other people that don't read the newspaper as much anymore. Mainly everything's done through social media and online and stuff like that. And it was overlooked on the bidding, the post that was bid. I know we have to legally post it in the Daily Mail because we designated them as the official newspaper for the village. But it was overlooked by, I do know of one company that is interested in putting a bid in if we decide to rebid this. And I possibly may know of one or two other companies that would be interested as well. And I see a potential here to save the village thousands of dollars if we just simply put this out for rebid. We have nothing to lose on this, just a couple extra more weeks of mowing. And the only thing I can say, hell, I'll even jump on the mower and knock the grass down until we can get somebody going. And I talked to Mary Jo. She can, if we were to pass a resolution tonight to put this back out for rebid, she could get it it would be in the paper by Friday morning, and we could have a new lawn mowing. Basically, we could have a new lawn mowing company or whoever be back in the village here mowing the parks in early June, within 2 to 3 weeks. If the previous bidder wants to stay in the game, I would highly recommend them put a bid back in. It's our right as a municipality. If we weren't satisfied with the previous bidding process or what came in on the bids, we have a right to put it back out for bid. And like I said, we have nothing to lose on this, and the potential here to save the village thousands of dollars. If we're going to throw that kind of money around in simple terms, we're adding another $10,000 in the budget from just last year for lawn care. We're not looking to mow Cantine Field down in the town of Saugerties here. $10,000 more dollars. I mean, that would cover more than half of the cost of the salt shed for the DPW, which I would really like to get them guys, because that's another story. We can talk about that as far as efficiency and manpower and stuff like that. But we have nothing to lose on this, and only to gain if we put this back out for rebid. And I just think if we just go ahead and pass a resolution to agree to spend $28,000 for lawn care this year, it's kind of like being fiscally irresponsible, in my opinion. And, the only thing I can ask you as the mayor, for the sake of the taxpayers, if you would reconsider putting this back out for bid again, so it's fair and square. And like I said, the previous bidder is more than welcome to put a new bid back in if they want to stay in the game.
Okay, so the comments I'd make there are, we did only get one bidder. Last year, we fired essentially our lawn care service because it was not adequate, right? So we wound up with this lawn care service last year. They did do an outstanding job, but they are very expensive. Are very expensive.
Yeah.
My concern, so what we talked about last time was not rebidding. What we talked about last time was seeing if we could find an internal mechanism, either hiring somebody part-time for DPW or having the DPW do it for short term. We're down on DPW. Antonio has given us his 2 weeks notice. So I think that 2 weeks notice was last Friday. So we have 1 more week after this week with Antonio. We have started hauling stone. We've got the dig. So the DPW work is starting. So it'll be, what we'd be asking probably for one more mow out of the DPW. If we allow it to get a little long, between now and accepting another bid. The question is, why would we be confident that we would see another bid? So what I'm saying is, one, we have to get a bid. We have to outsource this. I don't see a way to do it internally. And Anthony and I have talked about that a couple of times. So I don't see a way to do it internally. So we went out for legal bid. We only got the one response. The question is, do we expect reasonably that we would get more responses if we went out? And the second question then would be, how many times would we have to rely then on our DPW to do that mowing, right as we're getting ready to start the new DPW building, which a lot of the initial work to start up that DPW building, as you know, is on our DPW to lay the sewer water and to bring in the stone to prep for it. So that work is going on now.
As far as the timing goes, if it gets into the paper by Friday, the minimum that you can run it is 5 days.
Mhm.
So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then you could have a special meeting. You don't have to call it an emergency. Just have a special meeting to award the bid if you get them. So that takes you out another 3 days. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So next Monday, the following Monday.
Okay. How long in advance do we have to announce a special meeting if we do that?
3 days. So that gets us to 21. So you could have a special meeting on the 25th or 26th to award the bid.
Other board members?
I
25th
want
is
to.
Memorial Day.
That's all.
Right.
Hold on,
25th
hold
more.
on.
I don't know, Stefan, if you saw that Rob Brunner has a question about any change in the budget with the transfer to the community center. I don't know if that has to do with the mowing, but maybe if he has something to add, you could unmute.
Okay, I'll talk to that in just, I understand the question.
Okay.
Rob, I'll come to that in just a second.
Stefan, I wholeheartedly support Rob's proposal, particularly given the compressed time frame that Tal had suggested. We haven't ever, as a board, really had much of a conversation about, how do we get word out effectively about things that we want people to know. We're still using the newspaper. If we're still using the newspaper, I know we didn't do any posting on our website or our social media. We have a website. We have a terrific communications committee. I think we could get the word out and quite possibly get other proposals. I hadn't kind of fully realized until Rob said it, that this is $10,000 more than we've spent in prior years. So I guess to summarize, I support Rob's proposal that we reach out respectfully to the current bidder, sole bidder, to make sure he's will reapply, but that we look to get additional proposals and add social media and website to that.
Yeah, that's, I haven't, anything we've gone out to bid on, I haven't put it on the social media or the website. It seemed like that we've always done it this way and didn't dawn on me, honestly. I know that Anthony had some feelings about this situation, and I don't know, Wayne, if you want to speak to that at all.
Anthony's on as well.
Oh, hi.
Amy, is there a link to the budget on the website?
Yeah, I just answered Maria privately. It's the proposed budget, doesn't have the latest changes to it, but it is on the financial information budgets page, which is under village clerk.
Anthony, Wayne?
I just saw Wayne.
No, there we go. All right. I honestly don't know. I have no input on this at all.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, sorry.
You have Antonio next week, correct?
Yes.
Could we manage one more quick mow?
As long as the weather keeps up.
Okay.
I know next week is looking pretty rainy most of the week.
Okay.
I thought it was time sensitive, but if it can happen relatively quickly, I don't see why not.
Okay, here's so we'll come back then to the mowing question. So let me bring this back to a budget question. Okay, which the immediate budget question then is, do we reduce the budget line item for mowing down from 28,000? My recommendation, so Rob, if you've seen the latest budget, I created a new reserve line, which we'll talk about in a second. I don't know that we need to create a new reserve line, but I created a new reserve line just so that you guys could see what I was putting in. And I put 7,000 towards a salt shed with the intent that we would essentially pay for the salt shed in 2 years. What my recommendation would be is that we leave that line item at 28,000 for now, since we only have one bid. And since it is my belief that we have to outsource the mowing, should we get a better bid that reduces those costs significantly, then we can, and Tal, correct me if I'm wrong, via resolution, transfer money from that line item to another line item.
That's correct.
Rob?
I would just like to just say one more thing. There's nobody on the board that, everybody understands the DPW is got a lot on their list now, and I certainly don't want to add anything more than what they have to do. And I don't want them doing the lawns any more than they have to do, but we can get this moving pretty fast. And like I said, within early June, we could have somebody mowing,
Yeah.
And like I said, it's fair and square to put this back out to bid again. Like I said, if the previous bidder wants to stay in the game, you're more than welcome to put a new bid back in.
So what I'm proposing, Rob, is we come back to this and we make a decision to put it out to bid, which I'm hearing we will likely resolve to put it back out for bid. Even if we do put it out for bid, which I suspect that we will, my recommendation from a budget standpoint, since we only had the one bid and since we have to outsource, is that we leave the budget line item at 28,000 for now until we get another bid. If we get another bid where we can lower that budget line item, we can via resolution move that money to a different line later.
Okay.
Yep, that's true.
Any other discussion on the mowing line item? And Rob, we're going to come back to the, I'm not putting off the mowing. We'll come back to the mowing when we hit that on the agenda, and we'll appropriately pass resolutions as needed at that point. Is that fair?
Yes. Yeah.
If a point of information, who is the contact point for a mowing service to go to in the village?
It goes to the village clerk. It goes to
Thank you.
Mary Jo to submit an application.
And when we go out to bid again, I'll make sure that it's on the website and social media, if everybody thinks that'll help.
Yeah, I think
Given the short
that's a good idea.
budget, I think it will help.
Yeah, okay.
Tal, quick question. Does that void the current submission? So if we were to go from having one bid now to winding up with 0 bids, is the bid that we have in hand void at that point?
Yes, because what you first have to do is reject all bids and then put it back out to bid.
Okay. All right. Got it. Any other budget line items you'd like to discuss?
I had one question about the police officer salaries. just wondering if there will be overtime incurred because of the extra patrolling since the COVID lockdown and all that. I know I've seen the guys around a lot, which is great, but I was just wondering if that was.
Yeah, from a current budget, from this year's budget standpoint, we're right at the line.
Mhm.
So with the slight under expenditure in the remaining of the police budget, we will be within the overall police budget, but very, very close. Right. Not only did we have more policing required because the schools were out and because of COVID, et cetera, we didn't receive the school funding. So it has put us very close to the line.
And also Roger is putting in a grant which to offset some of those salaries if it's awarded to us.
Oh, great.
Yep. We have spent more than we traditionally do in a year.
And then also, I think this police salary includes for the street fest, extra money for the street festival, the Memorial Day parade, and all of that, which we won't have this year.
Yeah.
So are you proposing to lower that line item of the budget?
No, I don't think we can, because I think they're going to continue to keep some extra patrols on.
That's, yeah.
Yeah. And then it's in the budget. I had put a note in there just to reiterate that there's no official contract right now between the town and the fire department. The numbers are fine in the budget, but it's just to drive home that we need them to sign something.
I will talk to Rob again about that.
Yeah. That's it. That's all I had for that.
Other questions, concerns?
I just had a question. I wrote it into the chat, but I don't know how this manifests dollars and cents, but would the additional funds that we need for police for festivals and parades, we're assuming that it's about the same as additional patrols? It seems to me that that's not necessarily A plus B equals C.
No, that's true. I think all things being equal, we're liable to be over. But we are looking to get some grants, some government grants based on COVID response to try to help us with that.
So you think that the actual cost for additional patrols will be higher even without the festivals and parades?
That would be my guess. Right now, we're kind of leaving it as a net sum zero. But
Okay.
yeah, if anything, I think we wind up worrying about our budget in the latter part of the year.
Okay, that was my question. And then the other question that I had is, you know, if we have an intention as a village to lower that mowing line, that, you know, there's a consensus that that line can be and should be lower, why wouldn't we entertain lowering it right now?
Well, what I said is I think that we do have to outsource it. The only bid we had in right now was for $28,000. My recommendation is that we leave it there. And then we can, as a board by resolution, once we get a bid in, move some money. So I mean, if we're going to lower it to what? And we don't know right now what bids we're going to get in and where it's going to be. So my recommendation right now is leave it at the high side, and then we can move that at a later time to another line item that we look to do. And we would do that.
Yeah, I guess I was wondering about the other line items, so that if we run into in the discussion tonight some line item that there's a consensus really needs additional funding, how do we actually have a conversation about that if we don't know if some other line is lowered? Do you know what I mean? It's like where you start from.
Stefan, maybe I wanted to make a comment that might also answer Maria's concern.
Mhm.
I wanted to make kind of a global comment about this budget by starting off by just saying a big thank you to Mary Jo and you, Stefan, for all the time and effort that you guys have put into this budget. I know I've looked over it carefully myself, and I can see reflected in it all that good work. And I'm proud to kind of tell our residents that this is a balanced budget based on what we have here, that we cover everything that we need, including some new initiatives, and even including if we end up having to pay $28,000 for lawn care, and still stay within a 2% tax cap that we've been permitted to do. So especially given all the chaos that's going on in the world around us, in some ways we're fortunate that our revenues rely primarily on property taxes, which aren't anticipated to drop. So this is a very good budget. To answer your question, Mari, I think I think Stefan is being particularly cautious, assuming that I mean, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be really sweet if we get additional bids, as Rob is thinking we will, and I have no reason not to believe that either. But we can always make, as the village attorney said, we can always make adjustments to this budget. We can move those funds into other line items. Your comment about what happens if we discover during this conversation this evening that we need money for something else, I'm not sure we will, but if we do, at that point, we can look for where else in the budget, including possibly in the lawn mowing, to find those funds. But my comment is more a global one, just to thank the two people who've been primarily putting it together, and to say that I'm proud. I'll be proud to vote yes when the time comes on this budget, because it's a really good one.
Thanks, Josh.
Understood. Thank you.
Is your question answered, Maury? I understand. I mean, it's kind of six one way, half dozen the other. So I think Josh's the point was, you know, if we go through it and we decide that there's an area that we really want to add another $8,000, then we can come back to this conversation, Maury. Right now, all things being equal, my recommendation is leave as is for the time being until we get some bids in.
Yep, I get it.
Okay. Other feedback on the budget?
Stefan, were you going to say something about Robert Brunner's comment?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Thank you, Josh. Let me go back to what that was here. So, Rob, the question is, has there been a change in the budget with the transfer of the community center to the town? And the answer to that is no. The transfer hasn't happened yet. It's been kind of delayed for quite a while. So until that happens, we're not going to adjust the budget to reflect it. The overall adjustment is net positive for us. So it's a fairly easy adjustment to make once we get there. But right now, the budget still reflects the village owning the community center and being responsible for the community center. Does that answer your question, Rob? Thank you, Josh.
Yes, it does.
Sorry, keep me honest with that waiting room.
I don't think I can see. I think you're the only one that can see.
I'm the only one who can see it. Okay, I apologize to those who were in the waiting room. I wasn't paying attention. There were two that I just admitted. I apologize if you were there.
We do have an anonymous taxpayer.
Good, good, good. So let's see. I'll go through very quickly here and talk about some of the.
Stefan, you may want to mute everyone again because we're hearing people's background.
Yeah, some I can't mute.
Well, it stopped.
Okay. All right. Some interesting things. Street equipment expenses is up considerably this year. It's up about 45,000 over where it has been. That is to begin the process of paving Union Street. That's about half of what's needed for Union Street. We also made the choice last year to hold our CHIPS money back, which will apply both last year and this year's CHIPS money to the culvert repair required on Union Street. So the goal this year is to get quite a bit of work done out on Union Street along that. So that's why the large increase in streets expenses. I did put 4,000 additional Gale in the police budget over what I had originally talked about when I met with you and Roger to fund the small pole-based traffic speed indicator.
I love that thing, by the way. It's on the corner by my house. Hours of fun over the weekend, watching people slow down. It was great.
I think they work, and they record data too, which is interesting. So we can move it around and see where we need policing. So it augments policing, and it also helps us to know where to get the most efficiency out of our policing, which is why.
Amy, do you think that's more fun than watching the grass grow?
A little bit. People speed down 2nd Street a lot. We need to face it the other way when they're going out of town, because that's when it's really bad.
We talked about mowing. Parks expenses down considerably. The reason being it was up considerably last year. We put about $8,500 into mulching the playgrounds. We use the good rubberized mulch so that it'll last, so we don't need to do that every year, which is why that's down considerably for those looking at it. Police retirement is up because we had a state-derived error in one of our police's retirement. Essentially the village saved $7,000 over the past 20 years because the state signed one of our police officers up for the wrong retirement plan. So we need to do the right thing by that officer and fund the difference in his retirement plan. So the police retirement is up to account for that. From a standpoint of transfers to reserves, sort of the discretionary transfers to reserves, I put 15,000 in for DPW equipment with the intent, Wayne and Anthony, that we would fund a new pickup truck next year. I know we're limping that pickup truck along this year, but I know we're about to make an investment with it to get some repairs done. So my optimistic self says we'll get another year out of that. We'll fund a new pickup truck next year. I also upped a little bit the fire truck reserve. We are going to need a new truck here. I think we already need a new truck, but I sent everybody the debt profile that we have. I put it into that kind of sand chart that makes it very obvious that in 2024, the debt profile drops off a bit. So it'll go up next year a little bit for the DPW building. It will come back down significantly in 2024. I think that's our opportunity to buy a new truck. With that said, I want to make sure that when we do go to buy a new truck, that we have a healthy reserve ready to buy that new truck, so we wind up not seeing a significant increase in taxes when we do that. And then I added a line in there. In order to actually add a line, we'd have to have a permissive referendum. I don't think we'll need to do that. The salt shed to add a salt shed onto the DPW building would be 15,000 roughly. I put 7,000 in a reserve again with the intent to fund a salt shed next year. This, I think, Rob brought it up that maybe if we can drop that mowing, that may be an area we'd look to just complete that salt shed while we do the DPW building. So that is an option. For those who don't know it right now, our DPW, when it snows, have to drive down Schoharie, and most of you who drive down Schoharie know it's about the worst road to drive down in a snowstorm. Have to go to the town DPW building to pick up the salt in the trucks and then come back into the village from there. Okay. Are there any other questions? I won't go through the whole thing. Those were some of the more salient points. Okay. If there are no other questions, I will close the public comment session on the budget. Thank you all very much. All right. So we'll come back to the budget here in a little while, and Rob will come back to the mowing as well.
Okay.
So let's open the regular board meeting with department heads. Tal.
Let's see, going over some of the things. I did send out early this afternoon the updated version of the short-term rental law. I think I captured everybody's comments from the public hearing, and so we can take a look at that, digest it, and maybe at the next meeting, reopen the public hearing and take whatever comments. And if there aren't any other changes, we can vote to enact it.
Yep, that would be my recommendation. There was enough interest in that I think it's worth posting the updated version out there. Give people 2 weeks to take a look at it, and then have another public hearing next meeting.
Okay. Yeah,
Optimistic.
because we made some substantial changes, we're kind of required to do it
Okay.
further public hearing. But
Good.
For the bonding on the DPW truck building,
Building.
speaking with our bond counsel, and he's of the opinion that we don't need to put it out to bid. That if he feels that the numbers that we are getting from the Bank of Greene County are sufficient, then it probably would be just as efficient to just proceed with them.
Okay, and you concur that it does not require to go out to bid?
I did some further research, and yeah, it's not required. A lot of it's sort of developed into a tradition that we do it that way, but it's not required. And I've seen in the past couple of years when we put it out to bid, the only ones that ever bid on it anyway are Bank of Greene County and National Bank of Coxsackie. All the others say, hey, unless you've got a relationship, a checking account, or some other business with us, we're not going to give you a bid.
Stefan, while you're thinking, can I ask Tal a question then?
Go ahead.
Tal, you said the only two banks that we tend to get bids from are Bank of Greene County and NBC. Why wouldn't we want to put it out, since we've only heard back from Bank of Greene County, to see if NBC would?
That was a recommendation of bond counsel. I didn't ask him why.
So what I was going to say, Josh, personally, Bank of Greene County has been on the phone with me almost every day about this, talking about flexible structuring, giving me rates, and kind of coaching me through the process. Personally, I would love to just go and make the decision to go with Bank of Greene County. However, I think to be responsible, and since we're not really on a time crunch with it, Tal, we got to do the right thing and bid it and make sure we get the best bet for the taxpayer.
All right, let me make that note.
I truly hope, well, yeah. I think it's the right thing to do. Again, minimal time. We don't need to be out for a long time. But I don't feel like we're under any time constraint here. We've got $200,000 to spend when we start this process, and I think we can move fairly quickly with it.
Yeah, and you don't want to close on the bond until you actually need the money, because you don't want to start that year ticking until you need to.
Right. Okay.
No problem. We touched on the community center. It's still out there pending. I did reach out to the town to see if they had any reaction to the memorandum of agreement that we sent them and the updated deed, but I have not heard back yet.
And I reached out to Rob as well and let him know that we believe the ball is in their court.
Yep. We had a complaint about 90 North Franklin and the mowing or lack thereof. And I had some contact with the owners, the new owners, when they first bought back in the late fall, early winter. And so I called and left a message, but I've not heard back from them. I'll continue to push them to get that cleaned up.
Okay, regretfully, I don't see the code enforcement officer on the call here. I did reach out to him and told told Mike to write it up so that we document it. Yeah, Wayne, I hate to throw it at you, but we're going to hit a point here in a week or two where if we're going to be out mowing, we may as well hit that building too before it gets completely out of control.
Yep. And the last thing is
Oh, can I just say real quick, in the meantime, since you have spoken to Mike and he's not on the call, and Tal, you've reached out to them, if they call you back, do give them this information. I think it's fine if we come at them both from a code enforcement and a village attorney.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, rather end up telling them twice than, Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not going to stop. I'll get them.
Okay, thank you.
And then the last thing is, we are, as we know, hopefully nearing a point where we're going to be able to begin to reopen things. And I've started to put together a package of information about how we could go about doing that. Right now, with the plan that's out there, there's nothing that specifically points to how or who and where municipalities fall in that phased plan that the governor has given us. So I'm looking at interpreting it as that we are professional administrative. So we would be in phase 2.
Mhm.
And at that point, we could be free to start going back somewhat to normal as far as employees and hours. But there is a protocol that we're going to have to develop. And so I'll get you that protocol information. And we probably should have a committee temporarily to look at these things and then establish that protocol.
That's a very good idea, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't, Gail, is that something you'd be willing to help me out with? Let's think about who should be on that committee.
Sure.
Let's
Yep.
put that together and we'll propose a committee at the next meeting. I don't
Yep.
expect much to change between now and the next meeting, to be honest. We moved back from 6 out of 7 complete to 5 out of 7 complete. For those who don't know, we're grouped in with the capital region, the way they did it. They did regional areas, and each of the regional areas have to meet the 7 criteria presented by the governor before you open, and you open in phases, which is what Tal was talking about. Professionals being phase 2 of that. I've also been invited to represent Greene County on a council of mayors, I guess, type of thing. I'll learn more about that on Friday, but that should give me some more insight into the plans to open and how some of the other regions are doing with that. But that's a great idea. That's a very good idea.
Yeah, as it gets closer, I'll finish off that packet. But right now we're at least a month out before we get to phase 2. But it's coming, hopefully, knock on wood.
Yeah, the problem, if you look at that website, you can get to 13 out of 14 days, and if you have a day where deaths go up, you're back to 0, and you're starting over again. So it's not an easy checklist to get through.
No.
We'll see. I think June is very optimistic at this point. We did go back for everyone's, I think I let the board know, but in case I didn't, we did go back to full DPW. The reason being is we have 4. Anthony took vacation. We were down to 3, and we're not allowed to work. My guidance was no one works alone from a DPW standpoint, obviously, for safety reasons. So once you're down to 3 and you've got somebody going back and forth between the 2, it becomes a moot point. And now with Antonio leaving, we'll be staying at 3. So we'll remain essentially, once Anthony comes back from vacation next week, we'll be a full up DPW from here out. Okay, sorry, Tal. Anything else?
No, that's all I've got.
Thank you. Any questions for Tal?
Yes, Tal, anything on the cultural center lease?
Oh, yeah, I looked at the old lease, and if we want to just renew it at that, we can certainly do that. Yeah, whenever you guys are ready.
Let's add that to the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
And with the plan to make sure everyone's gotten a look at it, sent any comments back to Tal on it, and then with a plan to see about a resolution at the next meeting.
Can I just
Thank you.
put one thing in here? If it's of interest to anyone, I have with Crystal Way, who's the executive director at Mount Tremper Arts, which is down in Ulster County. We've put together an organization of Catskill and Hudson Valley cultural organizations, all non-for-profits. There's about 100 organizations involved. And we've put together data to share with our state legislators, the New York State Council for the Arts, as well as our local arts councils. Our last meeting had all to do with issues around reopening, as will our next meeting. Because there are issues that have come up with non-for-profits throughout the area, and there are quite a few in Green, about reconfiguring the physical spaces, trying to buy supplies en masse, things like hand sanitizer, things like all kinds of things. And the conversations are very substantial,
Okay.
very generous, and I would be
Can you
glad
send
to
some,
drop this
email
in
on
some.
that? Yeah,
I'm
can you send
sorry.
some info on that so that we can forward that to the cultural center?
I would be happy to do that. They have been invited repeatedly, but
Okay.
no one's responded.
Yeah,
So
okay. Good to know.
Evan, maybe Maria can be on this committee to be.
Reopening, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, everyone's really being very smart, I must say.
Okay, thank you.
And
all right.
that protocol goes all the way down to how frequently and who and when you'll clean your workspaces, your bathrooms,
Right.
all of it.
That's right.
All right. Wayne, are you speaking for DPW? It looks like Anthony's dropped off.
Yeah,
Sorry,
he
you
gave me a list.
Sorry, do you mind if I drop off? I've got to run up to Jewett now.
Hold on just a sec, Tal.
Sure.
Let me make sure I didn't. Nope, we covered everything for you, Tal. The only other item that I had with you there about is I want to do the public hearing on the moratorium and hopefully pass the moratorium at the next meeting as well.
Okay. That law is ready to go. So I can send it out just as a refresher so that way everybody has it. It's not buried in an email somewhere, but yeah, if we just do the notices, I think we don't even have to do a seeker on that. So, and we've gotten the 239 referral from the county, so we're good.
Did anyone have any questions for Tal about the resolution regarding bond counsel? Because I don't know that I'll be able to answer them as well as Tal will if you've got any questions about that.
Yes. What's the price? There's no price on there.
Did we get a letter from him?
Yeah, let me see.
See if I can find it.
Yeah, it's here somewhere. It has their hourly rate.
Yeah, it's hourly rate, $225 for an associate, $300 for the partner.
Well, do we have an anticipated number of hours, a not to exceed rate? That hourly rate, it adds up pretty quickly.
They do not give us a
I
number for that.
don't know that I'd be comfortable just giving an open-ended blank check with that kind of hourly rate.
Well, what we can do is authorize up to a certain amount for me to expend, and then if we need to go over it, we'll come back to the board and authorize further.
Tal, do you have any sense of how many hours something like this would take?
I would say between 5 and 10.
That's what I would have guessed is 10 hours.
Yeah. You know, these guys do this often, so they've got it streamlined pretty well.
So if we did maybe a not to exceed amount of $3,000, that could cover.
Fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions for Tal on the bonding before we let him depart? Thank you, Tal.
All right, thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Stay safe.
Wayne, you're up.
Okay. So the first thing Anthony wanted me to bring up was about making a resolution to transfer the money so we can purchase those valves and the parts we need for the pump station. So I can order the parts and get them here so we can fix that.
Okay. MJ, where were we going to transfer that money from?
This is sewer, right?
Right.
Yes.
The 4,500-ish that we needed for the DPW to do the work.
Yeah, I don't have my budget in front of me, unfortunately, at home. So, Seth, do you know, you were looking at your budget there. Maybe you,
I don't have a copy of my budget with me.
I don't either. I mean, I know there's money in the sewer though, so, I mean, I'd have to look tomorrow, but there is money left. This is the last month too, so we're
Give me a
we're
second.
kind of closing everything out, so.
Give me a
You
second.
planning on taking it out of the sewer savings account?
No, that's the actual pump. That was the $15,000
Right.
or something.
Sewer
That money's
miscellaneous
bad.
expenses.
Say again?
Sewer miscellaneous expenses. We've expended 55.5. This is as of the end of March against a budget of a little over 100.
I like Mary Jo's comment that there's money in the sewers.
That sound reasonable, Seth?
Sounds reasonable to me.
Okay, so, all right, so the resolution request is to allow the DPW to go ahead and fund the sewer repair. They will perform the work and fund it out of line G8130, TAC 4B, sewer miscellaneous expense. Would anyone like to make that?
And I'm sorry, how much is that again?
It's about 4,500. It was something like $4,530. Is that right, Seth?
That sounds about right. I may have a copy of it here.
Say,
And-
give me up to $5,000. Does that sound reasonable?
And I'm sorry, where is that again? Which sewers is needing repair?
It's for the pump station,
Oh, the pump station. Yes, that's right. Okay.
the valve replacement
Yes,
on the pump station.
Yep.
Yeah, we've been kicking this can down the road for about.
No, I know. I had a momentary brain lapse.
All right. So what I'd like to authorize is up to $5,000 out of the sewer miscellaneous expense fund for the DPW to repair the sewer pumps. Would anyone like to make that? Okay. Josh,
I'll second it.
Rob, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carries. Did you catch all that, MJ? I wasn't writing it down as I said it.
Got it.
Got it. All right. All right. What else you got, Wayne?
Okay, so the floats down at the Riverfront Park are going to go in on the 21st. I got the machine coming for that day.
And that includes the kayak launch?
Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you.
I received a call from Ben Funks that TNT has the truck inside, the new international dump. So they wanted someone to come up to make the decision where all the controls are going to go. So I took a ride up there and we went over everything. So they're figuring probably in 3 weeks it'll be ready for pickup.
Great. Great.
Another thing, the culvert pipe alongside Chucky Miller's on 385 there. I spoke with Rob about it. No, actually, he got with Rob about it. It's the bottom's rotted out of it.
Yeah.
So we went and purchased 3 lengths, and that's actually tomorrow's project we're gonna get done.
Good. Thank you.
And test digging for out back the site is going to be on the 19th. Anthony got a hold of John Joe, and they will be bringing in their excavator with the bucket that's required to do that day. And we spoke with Jason today, and he said it's probably going to take maybe 2 days. He's not sure.
Okay.
So, the only other thing I got is the quote on the repair on the pickup truck. The one quote I got was $653, and the other one is around $550.
Okay. That includes towing?
No. No, towing it out to the one facility. I think we were gonna to do it ourselves.
You can tow it yourself?
Yeah, I have access to a trailer that it can be put up on, and I take it out there.
Are we
And the other one is just up the road.
Is it insured if you do it yourself?
Oh yeah, yeah, yep.
You're doing it through,
To the village. Yeah, we borrowed trailers before from other people.
okay. All right. I don't think we need a resolution to do that. That's part of your standard budget.
Yeah.
I had asked Wayne to get a couple of quotes on, including a local quote. Okay.
And also too, both of them I spoke with that while they have it in the shop, they're going to try to locate the issue with the transmission that's been an issue for the past 3 years. And I think we probably pinpointed towards the rear of the truck. So, since they're going to have it up on the lift, they can inspect the wiring harness. Hopefully they find it.
Okay.
And that's about it.
Questions for Wayne regarding the DPW? All right, you want to change hats, Wayne, or you just want to face a different direction for a minute and talk about the fire department?
Hold on a minute. Okay. All right, so fire department. Well, let's start with, I've been going over what we have left in the budget this year. And so far we have, after taking out the 2 sets of gear that have been ordered, they should be here by the end of the month. We have left us $11,000 and $11,887.
In which line item?
All of them. I'll put them all together. I'm looking to possibly purchase another camera, thermal imaging camera. They're having a deal on it right now. We trade in our old one, and they're giving us $2,000 off for that. But we also get to keep it. But if anything ever happens to it, just basically throw it out. Which that's basically what we would do with it now, because it is old. It's almost 10 years old now, so I'm sure the parts were obsolete. But the purchase price on that is $6,305. And the line items I was looking at using are the vehicle repair, because we don't have anything going out. I actually have everything going out in June for all the pump testing, the oil changes, and all that. So I have $4,100 in that line item. The miscellaneous, I have $1,857. And then the other one I was thinking of we can use is the HVAC line item. I have $526 left in that. That's the service agreement.
How much is left in your equipment budget? Looks to me like probably only about 2,500, right?
No, the equipment right now sits at 11,467, and after taking the gear out, which is $10,858, only leaves like $500. But I also have a bill that's coming out for that new soap dispenser we got for our washer machine. So that's gonna pick up the rest of that.
Am I understanding correctly that the fire department has done a good job and not spent everything that they had in their budget and want to use some of that end of the year money to buy a new thermal imaging camera because the old one is 10 years old? Is that the?
Yes.
Yes and no.
Oh.
From a standpoint of the budget that they should be using to purchase a thermal imaging camera, it is fully expended. They did a very nice job of staying within it and managing it very closely.
The equipment budget.
The equipment budget has been essentially 100% expended.
Yes, but they also have leftover money that
So the
could be moved over.
question is, are we willing to move over money from other funds?
Mr. Mayor, what would be the reason not to do that?
Are you thinking of the truck?
No, I'm just worried about policing costs, but I know that we're going to be under control there. I don't know that I have a reason. Dawn, I don't feel like we're running up against our overall numbers. Principally, I feel like we should expend out of the proper budget. We can, however, make the choice to allow money to be transferred. MJ, I feel like we're comfortable from a standpoint of the overall budget expenditure.
Yes. Mhm.
Well, do we need a motion to do that? How much is the amount, Wayne, that you?
The camera is $6,305.
And how much do you have left over in the various line items that you mentioned?
As in everything,
Yeah.
in total of everything put together, I got $11,887.
So may I, Mr. Mayor, may I make a motion to reallocate to be determined by the clerk treasurer and yourself and fire department from which
I think
accounts?
we actually need to be specific about it. If we're going to reallocate from a line item, we need to specify the line item we're going to reallocate from, which we can do here. I think we can do that. So it is repairs to equipment.
Yep.
Fuel and heating.
No, the heating and air conditioning service agreement.
Hold on a sec. Hold on, let me keep track of this a little bit here.
Yeah, that's like the HVAC line
Yes.
item. Yeah.
Will that get you about 600, 500 bucks there?
Yeah, it's $526.
You get about 4,000 out of the repairs to equipment.
Yes.
What else?
The miscellaneous expense.
You get
There was
about 1,500 out of that.
1,857.
463. Does that get you enough? I see that as about $6,300.
Yeah, it's I mean, there's going to be maybe like $200 left over if you put all three of those together. But
What about your inspections line item?
actually, inspection, I have one coming out right now. We had the alarm system inspected, and that was like $700.
Okay, so what you're saying is you believe there's enough in those three line items: repairs to equipment, service agreement, HVAC, and miscellaneous. There's enough that if we reallocate, how much? 60 what?
6,305.
$6,305 from those three line items over to the equipment line item for the purchase of a
Thermal imaging camera.
thermal imaging camera. Would anyone like to propose that?
I will.
That was Amy
I'll
It was.
second.
and Rob. Any discussion?
Josh, there was Josh for second.
Any further discussion on this? Any other concerns?
Josh seconded it.
Got it? Thank
Yeah.
you. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Opposed? Carries. You get all that, MJ? All right.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Um,
And I'm picky about budget line items, but I do very much recognize and appreciate how well you guys have managed your own budget. And that ultimately, that's what I asked Dave and you to do at the beginning of the year. And you guys have done a very good job of it. I very much appreciate
No problem.
that. Call outs and stuff. This looks like you had pretty good turnout for alarms and stuff.
Yep, we had 8 alarm activations. Luckily, that's all we had during the past couple months. It was just alarm activations up until this past weekend. We had one standby for Hudson. They had a structure fire. They actually requested us to go over to their quarters. Then we had 2 mutual aid structures over the weekend, both in West Athens.
Seriously,
And
had a
then-
cat in a tree.
Yeah.
That only happened in Mayberry.
Yeah, luckily, I only responded down there, and when I got there, the cat actually came out of the tree on its own.
Good job. Good job, Wayne. All right.
And
And then,
if I saw you coming at me, I might jump out of the tree too.
right?
All right. We had a car accident today. How serious?
Car accident and a CO2, right? We had CO2 during the two-car auto accident we had on Leeds Athens Road in Howard Hall.
Okay. How serious were the injuries?
Not serious. The one gentleman that he refused to go to the hospital. He was just evaluated by EMS on the scene, and another woman decided to go to the hospital just to be evaluated better there.
Okay.
Nothing serious, but it was a rollover. One of the cars was sitting on its side.
Ladder testing and hose testing this month.
Yes, actually, ladder testing is this Thursday, and hose testing is on the 27th and 28th.
Okay.
Then I also have drills. We're gonna start doing drills again next Tuesday. Of course, we're gonna be very precautious. Masks, keep 6 feet away, and anything's gonna be done outside. Go flow some water and stuff like that. Nothing indoors, like in the meeting room or anything like that.
Okay.
And we're also hoping to have our meeting June 3rd, which would also include our elections. Hopefully.
Can I ask a
Can that be done virtually? Sorry, Josh. Can that be done virtually, Wayne?
No, it can't. Not with the elections. The elections can't. But what we plan on doing is having it out in the bays, all the chairs spaced 6 feet apart, masks worn.
I'd like you to lay that out for me before we do it, okay?
Yeah.
How many people do you expect, that kind of thing?
Well, we have to have at least 12.
Okay. Let's get together one-on-one and just walk me through that, please.
Okay.
Josh, you were going to say something?
Yes, 90 North Franklin. Remember, was intended to be used for fire department practice before it would then be torn down by the new owners. And I'm just wondering whether COVID has changed that at all, whether it's all on hold, or whether using it for fire department is no longer on the table.
Well, I'm going to talk with my training officer and see what he thinks. I mean, because if we're going to go do something like that, we would, probably be using air. So, I mean, it's doable because it's outside. That's what we're trying to do is, with the drills we're going to start, we want to be able to do stuff outside. We don't want to do no classroom work or anything.
What would you be doing? Obviously, it's not a training fire. Would it be some kind of what would you be training? What kind of a training exercise would you do there, Wayne?
We do search and rescue, where we use our smoke machine, smoke the building up, put a dummy in there and try to go find it. We practice ventilating, cutting holes in the roof, in the sides of the building, like that.
That's great. That's great. I do know that I continue to get polite but persistent queries from the neighbors about it because it's an eyesore. So if it is something that can be done even during COVID and it fits in with the schedule for you guys, it would be great to kind of get that training for you guys, get that done with, and allow that building to be demolished and something new put up there.
Yeah. Like I said, tomorrow, probably after the meeting tonight, I'll give our training officer a call and see what he has planned.
Okay. Any other questions for Wayne regarding the fire department?
Yeah, I have one. It's Seth here. Wayne, you speak, you're going to start drilling again and start flowing some water. Are you going to be on the hydrants?
No, we never use the hydrants, just because I know the infrastructure, how it is.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right. Gail, are you going to cover for Roger?
Yeah, I don't really have much from him other than they've been very busy the last couple of weeks. There's been a lot of issues around the village, so it's really a good thing that we've had them on during the day. And also to get the equipment in the new vehicle,
Yeah.
I believe Roger sent you why we want to choose the other.
Yep, he did.
Ones
And
that are-
I'm on board with that.
He wants to use, he has $3,000 from this year's budget to go towards that. And then they will send that out and the balance, I think it's like $5,300, the other balance will go towards next year's equipment.
Okay, I'm fine with that. So for those of you who haven't looked at it, now this is a week old, a little over a week old. We're just close on officer salaries. So my guess is by now, we're probably right at about the officer salaries, but we only have a week left of the budget. So I'm comfortable with it.
Don't we technically have like 2 weeks left?
Yes, you're right. 2 weeks left. Okay. Do we need a resolution for that, Gail, or?
I think we probably do, right?
All right.
To take that higher bid.
Oh, that's right. We want to accept the bid. So did you guys see the emails on that? We
No,
got
no.
3 bids. And I'm not going to remember all the details. It has to do with smart car capabilities in the police vehicle that were part of the bid request, that 2 of the bids, the 2 lowest bids, did not meet that requirement. So only 1 bid, which was a couple $100 more, wasn't dramatically different.
No.
But only that bid met all of the requirements that were in the bid. And Roger sent everybody an email on that. So the request then would be for a resolution to approve expenditure of, what'd you say, $3,500 or $3,000?
$3,000.
Out of police expenses in this fiscal year, plus $2,000 out of next fiscal year's budget to complete. And this is the lights, the computer, the cage in the back, all of the remaining work needed on the new police vehicle. Anyone be
Can
willing?
they get that bill to me quickly though? Because I'd like to get that paid this year.
All right. Yep. I'll email them tonight.
Okay.
We haven't brought the vehicle to him yet, have we?
No.
Okay.
Yeah,
Let's-
just
if we can get it
make
this-
sure he's got a voucher and an invoice.
Okay, let's get it out to them this week. All right, but we need that resolution. Would anyone be willing to make that resolution?
I'll make that resolution.
I'll
Yeah,
second it. I'll
Rob,
second it.
all in favor?
Uh,
Aye.
Opposed? So carries. Okay, anything else, Gail?
Nope, I think that's all I have.
I would just like to, if I may, add one more thing since we're on the police. As we all know, a couple weeks ago, Roger sent that email out regarding the incident that Officer Charlie Cole was involved with, which potentially could have been disastrous, where it could have easily turned into a suicide by cop situation. And knowing from my own experience that what the situation he was placed in that night was probably the worst situation any police officer can be put in, where they're forced to have to make that ultimate decision, whenever they were menaced by somebody armed with a knife. And I would like to propose that perhaps the village board can send Officer Charlie Cole a letter of commendation for his professional handling of that situation.
That is an excellent idea. Would someone be willing to make a resolution to provide a letter of commendation to Officer Cole?
I will.
I'll second it.
All right. Amy and Rob, all in favor?
I,
Opposed? Rob, why don't you and I get together? You want to kind of jot some notes, and we'll get something on paper to send.
Okay,
Yeah, thank you. That's a great recommendation. Thank you. Thank you.
okay. That's all I have.
All right. Anything else for Gail?
No, that's it. Thank you.
I still don't see Mike. Mike's not the anonymous, I trust, or one of the phone numbers. All right. Mike Regani is absent. Seth, I think Joe's on as well, but Seth, you're up.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody.
Aye.
Hi.
You all have copies of my report?
Yep, I've got it up.
Okay, everything pretty much normal at the water plant. We had a couple of alarm calls due to some low tankage, but nothing serious. And the only other thing that's new is that I did receive the DOH approval for the 2019 annual water quality report to be released, and Mary Jo's got that, and I'm assuming it's going to be going out in the mail here pretty quick.
Great.
I have a quick question about that. Is that going to be a separate mailing, Mary Jo, like in an envelope, first class?
No, we put it on the website. Amy put that on, and we put a notice in the paper letting people know that it's available, and we post it around the village.
Okay, so we don't actually physically send it.
No.
Okay.
Okay, good. Village sewer plant. Unfortunately, we were out of compliance for flow this month. We had an average daily flow of 459,000 gallons, which put us 59,000 gallons per day over our permitted flow.
It's one of our highest yet, isn't it?
Yeah, looks that way. We had 489,000 in December, 536,000 back in 2018 December. December seems to be a high month.
Okay.
You know, rain, snow melt, any number of things could cause it in December. So there will be a non-compliance report going to be filed with the DEC when we file the DMRs at the end of the month.
Okay.
We had, you know, we had a
We're
little,
nowhere near the 3 months closure, 3 months in a row type of thing, or
no, we had a non-compliance for flow in December, another one in February, and we'll have one in April.
you're getting awfully close.
We are, no doubt.
Okay, go ahead. I'll let you finish and then.
Okay. We had we had 5 inches of rain, a little over 5 inches of rain for the month. Put us into wet weather ops 6 times. We had 24 days that we exceeded 400,000 gallons a day, or 24 days, excuse me. So most of the month we were over. So that's gonna be an issue. Let's see. The hurricane pump, we pulled that, cleaned it, repaired it, and then reinstalled it. And the pump station, we discussed the valves. DPW and North Dome are going to collaborate on that and get the valve replaced. And as soon as those are done, the contractor will be back to install the new pumps in the control pan.
Great. I met with Jason today, Seth.
Okay.
He went, and Wayne, you can probably speak more intelligently than I can about this, but they've gone through. We were looking to slip line. We got that $30,000 grant that we were going to use to slip line. However, as they went through looking at areas to correct I&I, what they found is 5 separate instances where our stormwater drains directly into our sewer. So that 30,000 may be better spent, closing off those areas and diverting them. Because if we were to fix the cracks and prevent that water from seeping into the sewer via a crack, it's just going to run right down into some of these areas where the stormwater drains right into the sewer anyway.
Right. Yeah, getting the stormwater drains out of the sanitary sewer is always the best idea.
So Josh, we may need to kind of pivot on this. When I talked to Jason, he thinks if the DPW were able to do the work, which is within the capabilities, not necessarily within the time of the DPW, that we could probably do it for the $30,000 we have available.
The only thing with that is, of course, this is grant money.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to go back and look through it, but the grant is predicated on energy savings that were calculated based on slip lining. But I think.
So let's talk about it, because I assume it was predicated based on I&I impact.
We'll have to talk about it.
Yeah, it's still I&I. It's just.
I'm not sure that's correct.
Okay.
So
All right. Well, let's talk about that.
we have to get permission from the funder to make that switch.
Fair enough. Okay. All right. Well, it's a good find. Hopefully we can get it fixed quickly.
Yeah, I mean, fixing the storm drains is going to stop the massive spike. And, you know, certainly will go a long way to slowing the problem down.
Right. Okay.
Brick Row, 12,000 gallons a day was the average. You know, that's up a little bit from the normal, but again, 5 inches of rain will do that. We did not exceed the daily permitted flow on any day.
Okay.
It handled it fine.
Okay. Good.
That's all I got.
Questions for Seth? All right. Thank you, Seth.
Very good. Thank you. Stay well, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks, Seth. Thank you.
All right. So we did add, I'm adding something, and I apologize, Kathy. I'm going to drop something in, but since it's not on the agenda, we're going to limit this to about no more than 10 minutes because I'm adding an agenda item here. But we've had an opportunity come up with our CCA where because of the stay-at-home orders, because of mild weather, the energy prices are way down right now. So we have an opportunity to turn on essentially our the individual that we've empowered, and I forget the proper names. Josh, you'll help me out.
Good Energy.
Yeah, Good Energy, to go ahead and purchase energy for us now at a somewhere between fairly substantial and very substantial potential cost savings to the village if we do it. So Josh, you wanna talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Just I'll take 2 minutes, but I also want to introduce two people who are on the line. You are on the Zoom. People can see them. Edward Carey and Javier Barrios, who are with Good Energy and who will follow up. But essentially, yes, this afternoon, due to a confluence of circumstances, we got a very good proposal. And if we like it after they explain it to us, we need to pick essentially how long we want to take advantage of this. They'll explain the strengths and weaknesses of different lengths of time. And once we do that and we approve it, then it would go into effect in August. So we would have between now and then to do the public education. And to remind people who are listening, who may not know what we're talking about, the village has, as a result of legislation that we passed last year, we are participating in a national program called Community Choice Aggregation, which essentially takes advantage of our collective purchasing power as a community of hundreds of homes to get lower cost electricity. This is for the residents, for people who are listening, and every resident in the village, unless you opt out, and this will all be in the educational program. And it looks to save a significant amount of money on your electricity bill, maybe 10% or more, given the good prices that are available. And so that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Ed and Javier.
Okay. And Javier, help me sound a little more intelligent. Good Energy is not our broker. What's the proper term that we use in the CCA?
The term, the designated term is CCA administrator.
Thank you. Okay.
CCA administrator.
Go ahead, gentlemen.
Oh, thank you. Ed, are you there?
Ed's
I don't know
muted.
if you wanted to.
Ed, can you unmute yourself? Otherwise, I will. I got you. You're unmuted. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Mayor. It's good to see you guys again. I probably saw you guys maybe January, I guess. So it looks like everyone's healthy, and I'm glad to see that.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so we were going back, and I've been communicating with Josh regarding CCA, and all the paperwork is done. Like the Public Service Commission, we were waiting from them. They obviously were. They were going through all the state stuff with COVID and stuff like that, but everything is good to go, and we're moving forward. We got the green light. Mm-hmm. So we've been pricing this, back and forth with a couple of large energy companies, and oil, as everyone knows, has basically collapsed. I mean, everyone, you fill up your car, it's basically $60, and then now it's probably maybe $40. You're getting a discount. Well, that goes along with the energy markets. Last week, the energy markets sort of ramped up on us. But then this morning, we got a good report, and we did a proposal for Athens, for the Village of Athens, and we proposed it to Josh. And you're looking at some pretty good savings going on. Reason that being is obviously energy is very connected to population. The population is not using energy, as we all know. Airplanes, cars, everything else they're not using it. But the biggest consumer regarding for electricity and everything would be utilities and manufacturing. Well, manufacturing is out the window right now. So, and the other big portion of this is weather. Weather is, we're now coming out of the winter season. I mean, that was one of the most brutal Aprils I've ever experienced, but it was cold. But now we're flowing in May, and we're going into June. So come July, we're going to have the heat demand here, and that's going to put the air conditioning demand. So the price is going to go up. The next opportunity you might have would be September or October, depending on how fast we come out of this COVID and how fast manufacturing. But right now, you have a good deal, and you have a very good deal for your residents. So there's pretty good savings. Javier, I don't know if you've met him before, he's been up there, but he and I worked on this proposal, and there's two portions of this proposal that we wanted to give you. One is called traditional power, which is it's just regular electricity that's created by natural gas and oil and nuclear and hydro and everything else that the New York ISO allows us. And then the other price in there is 100% green, obviously at a premium. So, Javier, if you want to just sort of to dig into some of the proposals, and also most importantly the terms, and why we're recommending longer terms and shorter terms.
Right. So so when we ran and thank you, Ed, for that explanation. I'm just going to jump into. I know we don't have too much time, but I'm going to jump into our results. So we actually went out to bid, went out to 3 suppliers. 2 suppliers came back with a price. 1 supplier came back very competitively. In fact, 3 of your neighboring communities are on with this particular supplier, which is Constellation New Energy. And they came in with a 12-month price of 10% savings for the resident, and then 8% savings, 6% savings for a 18th month, and then about the same percentage savings for a 24 months. So the thing is,
Javier, when I look at I've got the sheet that you sent out here, and I'm looking at best supplier offer rate fixed.
Right.
So how do I break that down? The difference between the 4% line and the 15% line. What's this telling me?
What percentage? The 15%?
So I assume the difference here is the term of service that we're signing up for.
Yes. So right. So the best offer rate is obviously the selection between Constellation and Great American gas and electric, right? So that's what your rate is. So for the 12-month rate, it's 5.1 cents. For the 24-month rate is 5.3, and also for the 18-month is 5.3, and also for the 24-month. The percentage savings is underneath there. Is that what your question is?
I think I got it now. Yep, I understand it now.
The other thing, I'm sorry, Javier, but Stefan, you see that there are these numbers in red, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months.
Actually, no, that's what I'm missing here.
That's in the middle of the page.
It says contract terms.
Got it. Okay, so
Right.
that middle chart flows down. I understand now. That makes
And you see that under each of those red term lengths, there's two columns.
direct
a left
energy.
column
Yep.
and a right column.
Yep.
And that, again, flows down further. The left column is the traditional energy source, which is 15% or more green. The right column is 100% green.
Got it.
And you can
Right.
see when you get down to the percent savings, that the percent savings is slightly less if we go for 100% green. We're paying a premium for that, but
Got
that may be worth it to us.
Okay.
Go ahead, Javier.
Yeah, no problem. So yeah, let me back up a little bit. As you know, I think all of us get it. Like you said, the top part of it is the term start date, so the August 20 to 21. In the second column, it's August 20th to February 2nd, which is the 18th month, and then so forth and so on, August 20th to August 22nd, which would be the 24-month term, and then the estimated usage for the term, and then the pricing. So what we have here is interesting because your neighboring communities actually have moved forward with the program at a higher price. The utility rate has come down quite a bit, what we call the price to compare, but you're still doing better than the price to compare with the traditional power. Traditional power meaning no green whatsoever, okay? And being that the prices are depressed because of the way the market is, because we are in a recession, we think it's a very good time to lock in for a longer term, say 24 months, due to the fact that if there is a resurgence, if there's a recovery, you might have a rebound that would cause a great demand and pull on energy resources such as oil, such as natural gas. And so that spike up will affect utility prices. So from a historical perspective, it's good to lock in now so you take advantage of these inexpensive prices. We've all seen the price of gas at the pump go down dramatically. Would we love to lock in for the next 24, 36 months on gas rates for your cars? So it's kind of, that's the analogy with energy.
The percent savings that you list here, that's against today's market value, or what's that against?
Yes.
What are you basing
the percentage savings is based on a benchmark, and that benchmark is 12 and 24 month savings. Sorry, in this particular proposal, there's two proposals that we sent you, Josh. Which one do you have? Do you have the one that compares 12 and 24?
I have the one dated, I have the only one that I got from you dated today.
Yeah.
Okay. So that one should have the that one should have the 24 month as well. So the benchmark is the 12 trailing months, right? And also the 24 trailing months.
So it's benchmarked against the 12 months historical data.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, any questions with regard to that explanation and the benchmark comparing? And obviously this is a collective savings that you see on the sheet. So it's combined with all your residents. It's a small village, but certainly there's still thousands of dollars that come back into the community, back into the pockets of your small businesses and residents. You don't have a tremendous amount of small businesses that are going to take advantage. This is mainly for the residents that will see those savings. And more importantly, it's a budget certain price going forward. So it's giving you the budget certainty against any volatility in the market. So when you take the volatility and you compare it with what you can get right now, it's a good insurance policy depending on where that market is. We're at all-time lows in the markets right now.
So just to summarize then, Stefan, the decisions that we need to make tonight is, one, do we want to go off of today, or these change every day, or do we want to wait till tomorrow, Friday, etc.? If we go with today, because the next 2 days will probably be more or less the same, if we do we, what term, length of time do we want to go? 2 years, 3 years, 18 months, 12 months? And do we want to go with traditional or all green? My thinking is we decide now. We decide now to go with it tonight. A, because I don't think it's going to change that much. B, I would suggest we go with 2 years. And C, I would suggest we go with 100% green.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah. Sure.
So I see the price per kilowatt hours. And I just got this at about 5:45 tonight. So how much is our current price per kilowatt hour? Like if the average customer through Central Hudson, because I don't get my energy. I have a third party. I went to like a green one a while ago.
So there's two marks we used. One is the 24-month, which is 6.36 cents.
Okay.
The second benchmark, which is the trailing 12 months, is 5.98 cents. And so you're getting rates, as you can see from that sheet, well below that.
Okay. Oh, so that's the top
you can
number.
compare.
That's the PTC, the price to compare.
Price to compare.
Correct.
Okay.
Price to compare. Exactly.
And then my other question was the little pie chart at the bottom. It says 0 to 4% renewables. So I'm guessing that is the not 100% green number, I guess, right? Because one of the things just says components of electricity costs, energy. Can someone just explain that pie chart to me?
Right. Those are the components that you have in energy. So you have your delivery costs, you have your supply costs, and within that supply cost, you have certain components. These are the components that are in there: congestion, capacity, miscellaneous, ancillary services, renewables on the supply side. You also have renewables for your entire costs, which is about 15%. But there's also a new rule called ZECs and RECs, and I'm not going to go into that. But those RECs are renewable energy certificates and zero emission credits. Those zero emission credits are within your bill. So that makes up that 0 to 4% in their volatile markets. Then load following, those are generation upkeeps and transmission upkeeps. That's part of that. So those are just the components of your electricity supply costs that we're just breaking out for you.
Okay.
They don't tie directly into the cost above.
Okay.
It's just a general overview of what goes into a electricity cost.
Okay. And then if I may, my only other concern is that we've done virtually no public outreach since February.
All that still has to happen, Amy.
And we will decide tonight and then do the public outreach.
You know, we have to like I mean, we're regulated by the Public Service Commission, and so once we pass through tonight. Next week, we're going to have our marketing manager contact the village, and then it's our responsibility to get to make sure every single resident is informed of this.
So, yeah, we already decided that we were going to do a CCA. We already decided that Good Energy was going to be our CCA administrator. So the pricing piece is just, none of that changes the fact that we don't go live until August with it.
Yeah.
We have from now till August to do all the communications that we were still doing. So choosing the energy now, choosing the energy pricing now does not affect the project plan from a communication standpoint from now till we go live. Just with this opportunity opening up and prices as low as they were, I thought it was worth adding it in. From a standpoint of what I would recommend, I agree to move forward. I agree that we should make a decision tonight. I agree that we should go with a 24-month. My only thing is I'd love to be able to say that Athens is a 100% green community, but I think we're looking at a, 4 to 8 quarter recession that a lot of people in the community are going to be hit by, and anything we can do to reduce costs at all would be appreciated. So my recommendation would be to go with traditional. Other thoughts?
Yeah, I just want to point out that the difference between the two at the 24 months is 11% for if we use just the 12-month price to compare. It's 11% savings. If we use for traditional energy for 100% green, it's 9%. So that's a 2% difference. And for if you use the 24-month price to compare, it's 16% versus 15%. So I do agree that it's not insignificant, but when we're talking about maybe anywhere from $50 to $150 a year savings, we're talking about an additional $5 or $10, at the most here. So I'm going to respectfully disagree, Stefan, and urge us to go with 100% green.
Other thoughts?
I think that falls in line with some of the other efforts that we've been making. I mean, the climate smart and the things that Josh has been working on. And for me, I like I said, I still haven't figured out how I would opt into this. That's something that because I wouldn't be affected by this. So because I have chosen a third party already, that's totally green. So I mean, I don't know what's the percentage. You guys can't pinpoint what the percentage. If you don't go 100% green, you don't know, what you can't say, well, it's
we do know
50-50
exactly what the difference in cost will be. And it's
no, I mean the difference in supply. If it's not 100% green, Ed and Javier, is there any way of knowing, we're getting 70% green or 60?
The state is only required to do, the companies are only required to do 15%. They can do more, but.
Yeah, I mean, by law right now with the Public Service Commission, I mean, the Public Service regulates all energy coming into the state, but the New York ISO, the New York Independent System Administrator, that's the wholesale group. That's where retailers, suppliers go into the wholesale and buy energy and then turn it into a retail product. The state law states for the NISO, they have to operate, if they're operating at 100%, 15% of the energy that's currently coming into the state of New York right now has to be green. That's a big push for the governor right now. He's trying to turn that to 50% by 2050. And where we're going to get that energy, I don't know. But right now we're operating the wholesale. We have to buy 15% of that power. That's actually going into the grid, and that's coming from hydro, solar, wind, those type of projects. By 2050, where we're going to get our power, I don't know, because we're shutting down.
In the end, for us though, it's what will people, what will our residents be more comfortable with? Probably more money savings than being 100% green at this point. But so I don't know. For me personally, I would like to go 100% green. I agree with Josh, but I don't know if everyone in the village would feel that way. And since I'm already, it doesn't affect me, I don't want to really make that choice for everyone.
Well, the thing is, Amy, it could affect you. Though you won't. You could opt out of what you have now, and then you could opt into this.
Oh, well, yeah, I'm definitely going to look at how much I'm paying.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Does anybody else on the board have any thoughts on that?
Yep. Robert Gale?
No.
Okay, what's the next step then?
Well, we decide whether we want to go 100% green or not.
I need to interject with regard to qualifying the rec or the green product that has been offered by the two bidding suppliers. One is a national rec. Unfortunately, that national rec and that's provided by Constellation, who has the lowest price. Unfortunately, that rec, it does not qualify for New York State green community rules. So you could only say that you bought a national rec to offset your power. You couldn't say that this is a New York green product. The product that was offered by Great American, which has a much higher premium, that is something that qualifies. Unfortunately, the recs in New York have really exponentially grown in cost. So they're much more expensive these days than they were last year. So that's unfortunate, but that's the reality of the market, that the New York green rec, which is mostly hydro, is going to cost more. So I don't know if that aids in your decision making, but certainly it is a factor in what type of renewable energy you purchase for the community. So what we need, yeah.
I'm going to just say, in the interest of moving this along, that Rob and Gail have indicated neutrality, which is fine. And Stefan, you and Amy have both said you'd like to go with the traditional for the better price. So in the interest of unity, I'm going to be fine with that. I'd like us to move ahead and say we're going to do Constellation Energy for the 24-month period for the traditional energy.
Okay, that is a motion from Josh. Would anyone like to second that motion?
I will.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you.
Ed and Javier, do you have what you need to go forward now?
Yes, next steps are to contact the supplier, make sure that they lock in the rate. So tomorrow morning, we're going to have more news whether that price has moved. We doubt that there's too much volatility in the market, so we feel that the price is going to be in that 24-month range that you were shown. So we feel confident that we can move forward tomorrow, first thing in the morning. And I assume that the mayor would be executing that agreement.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll provide that first thing in the morning. You'll hear from us soon.
But do we have a contact number for the mayor? Mayor, are you at the village hall, or how do we get in contact?
You can, if you want to reach out to me, I can put you guys in touch first thing in the morning.
You can give him my cell number.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, wonderful.
All right, Kathy, you're up. Sorry about that.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be well.
So the library is looking at what we can do for summer reading programs for the summer. Realize, again, people aren't going to be coming into the library yet. We are looking at opening possibly with the first phase. Again, we're waiting also for more direction from the Mid-Hudson Library System to see where we fall. But the opening of the first phase would be only curbside. And so still, we wouldn't be running a summer reading program like we would normally do. So what can we do for the kids? And one of the things that we looked at, I actually have something to share. Could I screen share?
I think so.
All right, so let me just explain it. So one of the things is a story walk for young kids. And this is what I had mentioned, and Stefan had invited me to talk here to you folks, is that we would get 2 copies of a book and tear out all the pages, and try not to have a heart attack with that one, but tear out all the pages, laminate the pages, and so you have the front and the backs, and you put them on boards, and then you put them in a place where they can walk and read the book as they go along. And it's usually picture books. So here, let me just share, because I was asking other librarians for ideas of how they did this. And let me just, here. So this one here, if you can see it now, this one here is, I'm going to move you folks over so that I can actually get to the buttons. Here we go. This one here is mounted on boards, but one of the places that we thought, because right now it's really hard to do this on any of our streets, as well as maybe doing it down at the riverfront park and having something like this up. Now these are mounted on wooden boards with plexiglass over the top. Again, each library has done it differently. What we would do is you would change this weekly so that there'd be a new book there every week. Here you see a couple of kids reading one already. These are getting down to the very simple type. And to me, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and don't tell my library people about that idea. But, so putting it just on a wooden stake, although that becomes more problematic, I think. And then these are here on type of political type of sign, basically, since you folks all know what I'm talking about with that, political signs that are blank, and then you mount the pages onto it. So I have no idea who that might be. So basically it was, what about us doing something like that? And again, trying to do more for literacy over the summer, realizing that literacy, even for kids who are elementary and older, by not reading over the summer, literacy does decline, and it's called the slide. It's very well known, and especially for the lowest income folks who don't have a lot of books. And since right now, we don't even know when we're going to be able to open to even give out books. And even if we could, doing curbside, do you ever have enough of the picture books? Kids read picture books, like 5 of them in an hour. So how many are the parents going to be able to ask for and take home from curbside? So having as many opportunities as we can possibly have around, this was one of our ideas. Our normal summer reading program is going to have to be different this year. And we are working also with the summer rec and also with the cultural center in how we can send home supplies to be able to do more programs remote. But here's one that encourages people to be walking around and their kids have something to look forward to, that, oh, today's the day they're going to change the book, and be able to go down to the river and do that. If we can get the okay now before school ends, I know we can get Jim Martino to definitely get this advertised throughout the school as well for those kids.
My thought was to be able to do something that's kind of, I'll use the term, bolted on to the fences around the riverfront park, around the river walk down there, the boardwalk, for lack of a better term, in the riverfront park, that we could just bolt onto the fence somehow, and then to be able to exchange it each week, I think would be really, really nice.
That'd be awesome. That'd be awesome.
I think it's a great idea.
So this would be, what we're saying is not any of the stakes in the ground that we saw, but more attached to that wrought iron fence.
If we can find a way to do that, yeah. The ask today is, I think, Kathy, correct me if I'm wrong, the ask today is, can we use the riverfront park to do some kind of a book walk? That's the simplest ask. And essentially, I think the further part of that ask would be to give me approval over the design, if you will, of how we're going to present those books, so that I can work with
something that would need to be approved before our next meeting in 2 weeks.
Not necessarily. What's your timing look like?
We can, again, I have to do the same thing back for our board, but so getting things moving as, as much as we can to go ordering the books and things like that, as much notice ahead of time. And again, if we're okay with this, then again, also bringing it to the school and getting more, because they're so busy, the teachers there, to getting their attention, talking to each of them individually, especially the younger grades. Those teachers where it's been really difficult for them. I can't imagine being a kindergarten teacher trying to teach remote. So here is something that, okay, what were your themes? What were the ones you were trying to get to this year that you didn't even have a chance? What are some of the things that we could help you with? So again, engaging them, it takes time.
Yeah, I guess what I'd ask the board is give us some flexibility with it. The first iteration may be a simpler version, zip tied to the fence, as we look to spend some money and upgrade into something nicer. I'd like a little bit of flexibility with how we go about it, but certainly an approval to do it at a minimum.
Well, I'm comfortable with doing it, and I'm comfortable with the zip tie. I think as a board member, though, I'd like to review in a little more detail a plan that would be posts in the ground, where they would be, how many of them there would be, because that has the potential to radically change the open space feel of that park. If there's, 8, 10, 12, 15, 20 pages of a book, and you've got things that's the size of a podium, scattered around the park, that could potentially be very significant. So
Yeah, that's why I'd like to keep it on the fence itself, on the
Yeah.
wrought iron fence.
No, I'm fine with the fence. I wasn't coming in. I was trying to give a visual. If people said, what is a story walk? What are you even talking about?
Yeah.
So that's why I was trying to give as many options. But no, I love the idea of the fence. That's perfect.
I think it's great.
I do too.
Good idea. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm comfortable with moving ahead.
do we need any kind of an official act, Stefan?
Yeah, let's pass a resolution that the library can use the Riverfront Park to create a story walk. Do we need a further review of it? What are we looking for?
No, I'd like to, could we specify with using the fence, and that anything else would need to come back to the board?
Okay. All right.
I'll move. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Amy and Josh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carries. Thank you,
so
Kathy.
much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kathy.
Thank you.
Great idea, Kathy. Thank you.
All right. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes for the April 22nd meeting?
I'll offer it.
Rob?
I'll second.
Gail, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carries. Who reviewed, did we review abstracts?
I did.
I did.
All right, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the payment of vouchers as presented in abstracts?
I'll make that motion.
Gail?
I'll second.
Amy, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carries.
Can I ask one quick question that came up when I was looking at the abstracts, which wouldn't prevent me from, so last I checked, but I haven't been over there in a little while, they never put that street light up on North Franklin, did they? The Central Hudson. And I know we were supposed to get charged a little bit additional for it. So I was wondering if we knew if they were charging us or not.
No, I don't know.
Can you reach out to them and see what the plan is to install that? Because they had told me 2 months.
Yeah, it was like a year ago, wasn't
That
it?
was probably a year ago.
Long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're probably not charging us for it. And I think it was something like $13, but it just, because I saw Central Hudson and I was just like, oh, I don't think they ever put that street light in.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all.
Okay. All right. Whereas the village will be constructing a DPW garage, will need to issue serial bonds to finance portion of the project. Be it resolved that the village board approve agreement for services with Whiteman, Osterman, and Hannah LLP, attorneys at law, to provide legal services as bond counsel not to exceed $3,000.
I'll make that motion.
Gail?
Second. I'll
Rob?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Be it resolved that the village board agrees to finance construction of DPW garage as per the attached resolution through the issuance of up to 1.075 million in serial bonds and also using monies from the DPW garage reserve fund.
I'll offer.
Amy?
I'll second.
Rob, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carries. Be it resolved that the village board adopts the budget for fiscal year June 1, 2020 through May 31st, 2021.
I so move.
I'll second.
Amy, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. For correspondence, Claire Pardee sent the correspondence regarding cancellation of Community Day. Carol Bernard, so this is one that we probably need a resolution on. What Carol's asking is all things within the purview of having achieved phase 4, essentially, for public gatherings. Would the board be willing to allow them to slide the dates for APAC to essentially start? What she's proposing is, I think mid-August was what she said, and going into October. So it's basically a resolution to keep the hope alive. Obviously, it doesn't happen if we haven't achieved phase 4 from a New York State pause. But I think my recommendation is we go ahead and let them keep planning, so that if we get a couple of concerts at the end of the year, we get them. If we don't, we don't. But we ought to. I'd love to be able to keep the dream alive, if you will.
Yeah, we just don't. We just want to make sure it doesn't run into the Oktoberfest that's scheduled.
No, it won't.
It won't.
It won't.
Okay.
Different days.
Okay.
My only concern is because I didn't really understand this request, because if you're going to be putting concerts on, you have to book acts, you begin to spend money and make commitments. So given that we really don't know where we'll be in August and September, there is so much wildly fluctuating information that's made available to us. I don't understand how what they're asked, how they could plan. I mean, it's you either going to do it or you aren't, and I don't know that we're in a position to answer that. So I'm just trying to understand if anybody has any better understanding of this situation than that.
Not their specific situation, but as someone who makes their living playing music at gatherings and concerts and the like, the musicians are being really flexible with everyone. So if you want to get someone online and say, whereas we used to start it in July, now we might not start it till September. I know that my entire year has been postponed or canceled. I realistically don't think that they will be able to have any concerts in the park this year, especially considering the crowd that they draw. But if it gives some sort of glimmer of hope, I will say that as far as the spending of money and everything, everybody who plays music is being super flexible right now, as far as like if they have to either postpone it or cancel it or move it ahead. So
I think just so long as we make it clear back to APAC that this isn't like oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. No.
I think if we can reflect somehow what Amy has just said, which is, all things have to line up. We're not saying, okay, go ahead and plan for August and September and October.
That's already on the record, and that will be in what we state, and I think it should be in the resolution itself. The resolution would be pending achievement of phase 4 in the governor's plan, where public gatherings are legally allowed, that we will allow APAC to postpone the concert series accordingly.
Can we give ourselves the right to approve it like one more time, that we don't all of us discover that they've set this up and there's still some problem, that they, the next time they get to some kind of milestone where they must make a decision, ask them to come back to us again. I'm uncomfortable giving them carte blanche at this point, because even what phase 4 is might change. What if reopening begins to happen and many more cases begin, and so they change, what if phase 4, so there's just so much uncertainty. I'm happy to support and give hope. I think Amy made a terrific presentation, but I just think we need to be extraordinarily cautious and not appear to be saying, okay, if the governor says phase 4, then yes, you're okay for August and September and October.
I agree, and I feel that there will likely be limits to the size of gatherings, and therefore a free concert in the park that they draw a lot of people, would be difficult. We'd have to, logistically difficult, and to limit the number might get ugly. I don't know.
All these uncertainties just make me reluctant to
I
give.
feel like we should push this one off.
Yeah.
I really feel like it needs a few more weeks of seeing what's happening before we can even make any sort of informed or intelligent decision about this.
I think we can say we're sympathetic, we support the concept, but in terms of a practical decision, we don't feel there's enough information to be able to make that now.
Okay. Okay, I'll talk to Carol.
I think Rob has a comment.
No, I agree with you, Josh.
So I think the net of it is that the board is hopeful that we will be able to resume concert series in the fall, but at this point, until we have seen further movement on, movement through the phases of the governor's plan, that we're reluctant to allow for large gatherings, to planning for large gatherings. I'll talk to Carol about it. Okay. Any other discussion on that? Okay, I mentioned earlier that Antonio is resigning from the DPW. I spoke to him personally. After I got the news, he got a better offer. He's getting more money. We cannot make him a counter offer. We're limited by the union contract that we have. So sadly, we have to wish him well.
It's too bad.
Yeah. Back to where we were a year ago.
Yeah.
Trying to get somebody hired.
Yep. We'll come back to the conversation about when and if we need to hire a fourth again.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The final correspondence is extending the interest-free period on tax payments, which was sent out to everybody. All right. Josh, anything on the comprehensive plan? I know we're moving somewhat slowly on it, but we are moving.
Yes, we have a steering committee meeting Monday night, and we're still working on the survey. And the steering committee is discussing how we're going to implement that, if and how we're going to propose to implement that survey, depending on what happens with COVID and what if and how we're going to do any kind of additional public forum input, but we don't have anything specific yet.
Got it. The survey itself should be wrapped up within the next few days, I think, is what Lisa told me.
Lisa.
Sorry. Nan.
Well, we'll see. If the steering committee, we're really giving them pretty much the authority. So we have the meeting on Monday night. If we've made multiple revisions. If people are generally happy with it, then we've got a survey. If there's still, substantive issues, concerns, there've been a lot of very good input so far, then we probably wouldn't take a vote on it on Monday.
Okay. Questions?
No.
Lawn care bid. So I think we discussed this. So I'll make a proposal that we make first, the resolution would be to reject all current bids. The second resolution would be to go out for further bid no later than Friday with a 5-day bid period. I'm going to open my calendar while I talk here, which would mean all bids due by, we would say something like close of business 25th is Memorial Day, so 23rd, 22nd. All bids due by close of business Friday, the 22nd of May, with a special board meeting to be scheduled the 26th of May. Does that sound reasonable, Mary Jo?
I'm thinking about this because I'm gonna get the notice down to the paper in the morning. If you make it by 10 o'clock in the morning, it should be in the next day.
Okay.
However, the Catskill Daily Mail is not always that reliable. So that's what I'm gonna try to do, is get it in the paper on Friday.
Okay.
However, if it can't make it on Friday, it will be in on Saturday. So what date is that? I don't have a calendar in front of me.
Stefan, why would we have a special meeting on the 26th when our regular meeting is on the 27th?
You're right, it is. I thought that was planning board.
Yeah, we could open the bids right at the next meeting
Yep.
and then award the bid that night and then get the
Yeah.
paperwork, which could be on the road June, first week
Okay,
of
so
June.
then even if it did go out on Monday, we would have enough time to get it. So all bids have to be in, regardless of when it goes out. Try to get it out for Friday. All bids in by close of business Tuesday, the 26th, for opening on the 27th. Thank you, Josh. I thought that was planning board for some reason.
And MJ, can you just email me the wording of that so that I can put it every place?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
All right, so 3 resolutions. First, would somebody like to make a motion to reject all current bids?
I'll make that.
Dale,
I'll second.
Rob, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Bye.
Second, would anyone like to make a motion to rebid lawn care? All bids due by close of business on Tuesday, the 26th of May.
I'll offer it.
Rob?
I'll
I'll
second.
second.
Josh,
Go ahead.
seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then I do not need the third resolution because we will open it at our regularly scheduled board meeting on the 27th.
How many days did Tal say it had to be in the paper?
5.
5.
But you can leave it in through Tuesday, the 26th, essentially.
Okay.
All right. Good. Any other comments on lawn care?
No, I appreciate you listening to me on that. And I do hope to get a better turnout on the bids or whatever. I'll make sure I get the word out that it's up for bid as well.
And
But
if you could, I have a Facebook page too, so
oh, that'd be great.
if people
Yeah.
could send it to, someone could send whatever it is to me, I'll post it on my Facebook
Yeah.
page as well.
I
I'll send
appreciate
it to all of you after I send it to the paper. I'll
All right,
CC
thanks. Thanks, Mary Jo. I mean, we're at the crossroads right now as far as cost for lawn care. I think we reached that crossroad point now. I mean, we're gonna have to decide for next year whether it would be economically feasible to hire a part-time seasonal worker or go back to putting it out for bid again.
Yeah.
But I think we reached the crossroads now as far as cost goes.
All right, let's go around the room. I'll start with MJ.
You're gonna start with me? No, don't start with me. Go with somebody else.
We'll start with Rob. You're over here. You're the first one.
And with
Who's it? Oh, me?
Yep.
Oh, the only thing I had, but Wayne covered it, was the the update on the new DPW truck. Wayne already covered that for me, so that's about all I have. So.
All right. Josh, you're next on my screen anyway.
Okay, my dogs are barking, so you'll have to forgive me.
It's all right. Josh?
Yeah, I had 3 kind of quick things. One is we received a complaint about an unleashed, uncollared and unrestrained dog. And I'm just wondering, this was sent to the village board rather than code enforcement. And I'm just wondering if anything has been done to attend to that.
Yes, the police went by twice, I believe. I think we got 2 complaints on it, actually, on the same dog. The police have been by more than once. We also I believe we got animal control involved with it. So he's been cited twice. The police chief had a personal conversation with the dog owner, and animal control was involved.
And has the complainant been notified of this, made aware that the village has responded to their?
One of them has. I just realized earlier today that I had not I hadn't reached out to the second, which I will do.
Okay, that was my first thing. My second one is I just want to kind of publicly mourn some of our social losses as a community as a result of COVID. we've mentioned them in passing. The street festival, the Athens Community Day. People may have seen that the Little League season is being postponed and may be canceled. So this is apart from the people that may have gotten sick or who have passed. As a community, it's become so normal for us. So I want to kind of publicly acknowledge that, and I want to offer something as an potential alternative. It was a suggestion made to me by a community member, which is that once we've reached the stage of reopening where our restaurants can reopen, someone suggested that we close off 2nd Street between Franklin and Warren, like on Friday and Saturday evenings or Sunday afternoons, in order to allow the restaurants to put tables out on the streets to, in the warm weather, allow people to kind of socially distance from each other. And even perhaps also do from Franklin to Washington, if the old, what was the French restaurant, they find a tenant, and or if the cultural center wants to put tables out on the street. So this is a way of acknowledging everything we've lost in COVID, but also trying to say, you won't step on our community resilience. We're going to do something else to be visible and celebrate our community, but acknowledging that reality. So I
like the idea. Let's maybe you and I reach out to the restaurants and see if they're interested. Gail, can you talk to Roger and see what the repercussions of that would be, if any? Make sure
Yes,
we're okay with it.
Yeah.
I like the idea. So actually put tables out so that we can so they can make up for the lack of tables you're going to be able to have inside. Less of an issue for Stewart House, but it's still nice just from a social standpoint to do it. So yeah, let's talk to them.
Okay.
I like the idea.
All right. And the last thing I wanted to mention is the Conservation Advisory Council. I did send around to everyone a couple of weeks ago a proposal to create this Conservation Advisory Council. Because it is a law, all we would really be doing tonight would be, if people agree to it, is agreeing to put it up for a public hearing at our next meeting. But essentially, we already have a committee that we agreed to create, which I haven't taken any steps with, to oversee the Climate Smart Community proposal. This new committee could do that, plus additional things. I think we've seen, I was just stunned, but not surprised by the community response to the Athens stevedoring proposal. There's a lot of interest in our environment here with climate change, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd like to ask our community whether they support us in the creation of a Conservation Advisory Council. I did send around the information to everyone. This is a state supported kind of council. There's a lot of precedent for these in many other communities. There's a lot of depth and breadth to the support that such a council could have. So I'm proposing that we put it out for a public hearing at our next meeting.
So Josh and I met with Jeff and
his name is hard to pronounce.
Yeah, he's with Scenic Hudson. We talked to him about it. I would like to meet with the other woman we discussed. But what I would see with this would be, rather than a steering committee, a tree committee, and a conservation advisory council, we would have all of those: the comprehensive planning steering committee, the tree committee, and they would kind of roll up into this conservation advisory council.
No, Stefan, not the comprehensive planning committee.
Sorry, well,
because that's not concert. It would be the climate smart. There's a lot of committees.
Sorry. Yep. Okay.
Climate smart community and tree and conservation advisory.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. And then, so yeah, what we talked to Jeff about, and what I'd like to talk to, and I don't remember the other woman's name that we discussed when we were out walking the other day, just about how we make sure that it has legs, how we make sure that if we put it in place, that we're going to have work for them, that we're going to be able to keep them engaged as a community. And I think we can do that. I do believe we can do that, particularly if we roll the tree committee into it, and we give them responsibilities around that we tie them in with the waterfront advisory, with planning board for any types of issues that arise that potentially impact
the environment in our area.
Yeah.
I mean, you just forwarded us today this Peckham update. And so that's an environmental issue that may be on its way to being resolved. But we also have the Iroquois compressor, which we've kind of put on the back burner, but there's public interest in that. There's Athens Gen, which is a valuable member of our community, but there's public interest in the pollution. Or is there, in exploring whether there's pollution from that. So I think that rather than having these issues erupt, in the press and to surprise us, that if we have a process for addressing them, that it will be better for our community, better for the environment. It's win-win-win all around.
Okay. Any other discussion on that or questions about it?
Do we need a motion? May I move to put this up for public hearing at our next meeting?
I don't know that we need a motion for that, do we, MJ? We can just
No, no, you can just.
Yep, we'll add it for public hearing next meeting.
Great. That's great. Thank you. But speaking of this Peckham, Stefan, are you going to talk about that? And because this was in response to a constituent complaint.
Yep, I'm going to talk about it.
Okay, then I'm done. Thank you.
Amy, Gail, sorry. Did you go? Amy? They all moved around on me. I'm all screwed up now.
I just have one thing. On May 16th, we're having that parade. Remember I sent you a message on for the woman that wanted to celebrate her son's 3rd birthday.
Okay.
And she got the antique cars to join in.
Okay. Are you in contact with them, Gail?
I just got this of what she wanted to do. And she only sent it to me because she wanted to use that sign down there to advertise for her son's birthday, which I didn't feel was right.
No, but what I'd like to do is repeat that for Memorial Day as well. I've been talking to George about it. So if we can get the context that she used for the classic car thing, to do a drive-only Memorial Day parade that kind of goes through the whole village, if you will, or a lot of the village, so that we allow social distancing. I'd like to do something like that for that. So.
All right. So I have what the route is going to be. If you'd like to have that, maybe Amy, you could put it on Facebook or something that they're going to have the parade, and it's going to line up at 11 at the school, down 3rd to Water Street, 385 to Union, Vernon back down 2nd. Is what she told me. So it's going to circle the whole village.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, let's get the contacts and stuff and see if we can't put that together for Memorial Day as well.
I can contact Mitch Poole. His father is in charge of that.
Okay, great. Great, thank you.
Can you email me that parade route?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
All
And
right.
any other details you have that'll help me make a post out of it.
Okay.
Yeah, and so Wayne, for Memorial Day, can we get the fire department involved in that as well? Gail, police support for it as well. And then let's see if we can get the Classic Car Club, and we'll do something like that for Memorial Day. I mean, hell, if we could do that every weekend, it'd be great. So
Yep.
I don't think the fact that we did it the week before is any reason not to do it on Memorial Day again.
Right. I agree.
Okay?
Okay. That's
Anything
all
else?
I,
All right.
I have one more thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
The DPW contract. I talked to Anthony today. He said Rocco is going to send me their proposal. So when I get that, I'll get with you, Stefan.
Yeah, and Rob as well, yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay, good. When is that up?
June 1st.
Okay. Wow, they're not giving us much time, are they?
Now,
I
I guess
think-
I want to send it because of the COVID-19, but who cares about that when you can do it all email,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
Okay. Amy.
The farmer's market is moving forward. We sent out the applications on Monday to approximately 15 vendors. We added the COVID restrictions that are current for right now onto our rules and regs. So there will be proper social distancing and all that, and the booths will be spaced appropriately. Just waiting for any applications to come back in. I had one returned email. I'm gonna do a little digging and see if I can find their real email address. It was the kimchi lady.
Okay.
So that is moving forward. We're hoping to start July 19th and go into the first weekend of October. So it'll be a 12-week season, a short season with social distancing guidelines in place. But a couple of the vendors that I spoke to said they've already been doing markets and they've had good success with the restrictions. So
It'll be a big shot in the arm for the community.
I hope so. I mean, I haven't seen any applications returned yet, but it was just a couple days ago that I sent them out, and they have until June 1st. So also, MJ, you might receive some at the office.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
That's it for me right now.
Good. And you, Nancy, thank you. That'd be huge for the
Yeah, we couldn't have done it without Nancy.
Yeah, that'd be huge to pull that off. All right. MJ?
Just a couple of things. Let's see. Andrew Lord, the guy who was interested in the DPW garage. I meant to ask Cal when he was here. Have you heard anything about an appraisal on the DPW?
Yeah, I have. I thought it was sent to you as well. They sent the quote for how much we owe them for the appraisal. But I thought they gave us the appraisal as well. I'll have to go back in and look through my email.
Yeah. It might have. I might have missed it too. I've had 10 million emails in the last few weeks. So anyway, so he's still interested. Right now, he's actually over in the Netherlands. I just got an email from him. He's staying over there with somebody.
We can't give him a date yet, but I went through it with Jason earlier. Optimistically, I think we're before January 1st, we're moved into a new building.
Yeah.
But
So he's
that's a
interested
little
in
optimistic.
the price of that appraisal, though.
Okay.
So he wants to
Well,
know.
let's
So
make sure we've
if
got
you want
that.
to forward that to me, you can.
I'll find it.
Let's see, LaBerge, I was just looking through some of my notes through the year and just making sure some of the things have been tied up, And one of the things was the LaBerge for the intervenor funding for the dam at Sleepy Hollow. Are they supposed to bill us for that?
They bill Cooksaki, and then Cooksaki parses it out. But the only bill that's been sent was in the hundreds of dollars. And the bill stated that it would be funded with intervenor funds. I haven't seen anything beyond that.
All right. And I'm glad to hear about the creating a committee for the building as far as the protocol for the COVID-19, because it comes at a really bad time for the village office, because this is our busiest time. We've just had water bills coming in. And also we're going to be going into tax time. So we have a lot of people who like to pay in person. So it comes at a really good point to start discussing some of those things. One of the things Dawn and I had discussed, a couple of them were, we've tried to order this sneeze guards for the countertop. so that, you know, you have that shield between people. And one thing that we thought about last year, and we had the approval from the board at that point, from the town as well as the village, is to get a drop box outside of the building.
Mhm.
Coxsackie has one now. They've had it since they put the new building up. So I've been trying to order one of those to put outside and just put on cement bottom, whatever. So, and we're working on trying to get water sewer payments, the ability for people to pay online. And I don't know. I want to.
You're going to do a joint town and village Dropbox? I mean, it's going to
Yeah.
be a joint town and village Dropbox, whether you do it with the town or not.
Yeah, so we had discussed it about a year and a half ago, and then
Okay.
just never got to it because of the construction of the building, and we just put it off. Wish we hadn't, because now we'd like to have it, because people are still trying to really try to get in that building and pay their bills. And another thing is, I don't know if anybody knows, but is there a way to say that, you know, you don't want to accept cash anymore and perhaps change over to, you know, checks and money order? I don't know. I see other people turning to doing that too.
The
I
liquor
don't know
store
that
doesn't
we
take
can
cash anymore.
As the government, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. These are just things to think about when you start this, you know, committee. And also, you know, we share the building with the town. We're still the owners of the building as well. And I think maybe they should be part of this because they own a lot more of that space. I mean, they're in more of that space than we are. So there's a lot of doors that are open, a lot of people going back and forth. And, you know, not everybody is following protocol right now. So that, I think maybe they might be a part of this discussion
I
as
think that's
well.
fair, Gail. When we put this together, maybe it ought to be a joint town village committee.
I agree. Do we have a sign, at least outside, saying that masks are required?
No, I'm gonna make one of those this week. I mean, we have the building locked down, but I don't know, people still are trying to get in. And the side door, you know, because the police are in and out, and I understand
Yeah.
that. So the door is open, so people know it, and they come in and bang, bang, bang on the door. And you know, it's a little unnerving right now. So, you know, and the meeting area. And another thing we discussed, I don't know if it's possible right now, but I mean, now we're doing remote meetings, but in the future, it would be a nice thing to have a spot to do meetings so that people aren't in our office touching and breathing and, you know, and maybe everybody has a common area that they have meetings. So it's another thing to think about.
Okay.
And let's see, is there anything else? Oh, another thing, Wayne is still here. Anthony asked me to ask you, but Wayne's here anyway. Because of the COVID-19, usually, I guess Wayne's got some vacation time he wanted to buy back, or I don't know, maybe you want to unmute Wayne so he can talk about it. He's only allowed to buy back or sell back 1 week vacation, but because he's been working so much, he wants to buy back another week or sell back, whatever it is. So he was hoping that you guys would give him the permission to buy back or sell back 1 week and 7 hours of his vacation time, since he hasn't been able to use it and won't be able to use it before the end of the year.
Well, I talked to Anthony about this, Wayne. Did you talk to him?
Yeah, he talked to me about it, and what I told him was I'll lose it because I can't take time off right now. We got so much work going on. I'd rather sacrifice losing the time.
That's not what, I mean, when he and I talked, the thought was that you could take a week of vacation.
Yeah, but with Antonio leaving and we're trying to get a lot of stuff done because we're behind in a lot of our work, I told him, I said, I'd rather sacrifice just losing it. It's no big deal to me. You know, because we have work to do and we got to get it done.
All right, let's the three of us talk again. I want to see what the rules say. I haven't looked at the rules yet. I just had the conversation with Anthony. So let's the three of us talk maybe Friday.
Okay.
Okay.
And one more thing, Michael Black called today He wanted to let you know that on 56 2nd Street, there's a tree branch hanging. Like, it looks like, he said it looked like somebody had cut it and now it's hanging in the tree. And it looks like it could come down on somebody's car or something. So he was hoping somebody would take a look at it. And that's all I have.
Got
Yeah,
that
actually,
one?
Michael Black actually stopped Antonio, and Antonio let me know. And then when Anthony stopped by before we met with Jason, and tomorrow I'm going to swing by, take a look, and see what's and try to remove it
Okay,
when
great.
we
Thank
can.
you.
Yep.
All good, MJ?
That's it.
Okay. So we had the complaint about Peckham a little while ago. I have followed up with her once on that. After I met with the GM there, the local manager. I met again with, I don't remember the titles, I think is the regional vice president and the executive director. I sent the email out. They have hired a consultant to come out and help them figure out what they can do to improve odor reduction in the area. I also voiced a complaint about trucks at 4 or 5 in the morning. They're going to look at what they can do around that. And I suggested with them, they haven't taken me up yet, but coming to a meeting, coming to a public hearing and having a public information session after they've had the consultant to come and talk about what they learned and what they're going to do, what improvements they're going to make in a public forum, which I suspect they'll take me up on, but don't know yet. So I have followed up with Susan once on that after my first meeting. I'll follow up again, and I'll probably just forward her that email and let her know that they've hired the consultants. And then we'll do another follow-up and hopefully a public information session once they've met with the consultants.
And they want to talk to her too, so.
Yeah, they have. We went by Mark, I forget the name of the guy who sent me that email.
Dan Flannery.
Dan, thank you. Dan and I actually went to Susan's. It turned out it was a different Susan who had made the call. I happened to be in the office. Susan called. Mary Jo said Susan called and complained about Peckham. We went out to Susan's and talked to her, but it was a different Susan. So we then went out to that Susan and talked to her as well. That was a while ago. So Dan has met and spoken to her and will do again.
Stefan, one quick thought. If we pass this Conservation Advisory Council, that can serve as a foil for some of these things. So we could have them work with Peckham and take public comment and so forth, and wouldn't have to be our board.
Okay. Cultural Center lease we talked about. First bond payment we talked about. So we do want to, so we already covered this, but MJ will have another public hearing for the short-term rental at the next meeting. We'll have the public hearing on the waterfront moratorium at the next meeting. And we'll have the public hearing on the Conservation Advisory Council at the next meeting. Covered lawn mowing. We covered the dog complaints already. Kathy's still on. We had a meeting earlier this week with all of the folks involved in the summer rec program. And there are some really, really good ideas and a lot of good thought going into how do we maintain some sort of a summer rec program, largely outdoor social distancing activity based, or where we can't do that because of weather or other constraints, online ideas as well. So a lot of good ideas coming out of that. That's where we are right now, is just kind of, I think the team is brainstorming, coming up with some really good ideas. We'll start to put a schedule together. The nice thing is Jennifer has 7 out of the 9 volunteers are willing to come and work and help her with the social distancing. And we're talking about bicycle safety classes and a lot of really good ideas there. Some geocaching and scavenger hunt. And So hopefully we can salvage some sort of a summer rec program for the children this year.
We're getting together again tomorrow morning.
Excellent. Thank you. Memorial Day Parade we covered. That was all I had.
Stefan, do you want to give the board an update on where we are with BOA?
Oh, yeah. So I think we talked about already, I know we talked about already that we're going to reapply for the Brownfield Opportunity Area Grant again this year. We were very close last year, according to this Department of State debrief that I did. So they having more time to plan, and that more time to plan may turn into a lot more time to plan if they delay the CFA grants like we expect they will only help us. So Josh and I, they provided us some really nice full color maps with every lot so that we can go label each lot within the BOA, trying to figure out how we break down the financial demographics in the area as much as we can. Really get a lot more detail into the BOA than we got last time, given that last time we only had a few weeks to put it together. So I feel pretty good about it. We got, it's costing us less because we did a lot of the work last time, but it'll have a lot more good detail this time as well. So we move on with that, and we'll make sure we get that in for the CFAs whenever the CFAs turn out to be due.
And I'm sorry, Stefan, I don't mean to be throwing these things at you. Do you want to update the board on the addiction group?
Yeah. So we started a while back now. We started what we call the Athens Addiction Council, which includes, and Josh, you're going to know, it's Greener Pathways. What are the other two?
Paula is part of a prevention group in Columbia County, and Tim Mercer's our town judge.
And he also runs Hands and Hearts, and they do a lot of local community outreach, really, really good stuff, the stuff Tim does in the local community as well. So he's on the group. Right now, what it is a relatively active Facebook page. We had the Narcan training vehicle at the fire department, and hopefully our police did a little training out there while it was there. They were supposed to go out and do that. So trying to make sure that we're just getting the awareness out there, because that's another of the unfortunate side effects of the stay at home and the COVID pandemic is addiction is on the rise, as evidenced sadly by overdoses being on the rise. And I think we've talked as a group before, Greene County has very high overdose rates relative to New York, but the biggest problem we have in Greene County is the death rate from overdoses is the highest in New York because of scarcity of first responders in many cases, distances to hospitals, et cetera. So looking for whatever we can do to make sure those resources are out there and available. We had a plan through the summer that included, tie-ins to potentially Community Day, to the Senior Center, to a town hall type event at the firehouse. All of that obviously is canceled. So we're looking at what online or telemed type resources are available out there in other communities. What are other communities doing creatively around that, and how do we expand what we do in Athens? From a standpoint, there have been overdoses in the town and village of Athens. We don't have a tremendously high rate, but again, we are very impacted by the fact that we have a high death rate from overdoses. And the end of last year, we were all aware of the 2 deaths that we had, which is when we put this council together. So just trying to find ways to get those resources out there, let people know what's out there. How do we make sure we've got Narcan? How do we reach out to the fire department, which we're talking about? And hopefully this meeting, I meant to put that on the agenda, getting a sample of some sort of a more memorandum of agreement to allow our fire department to respond with Narcan? How do we make, ourselves as protected as we can from the problem? Did I cover everything, Josh?
More than everything.
All right. That's all I've got. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I have one more thing.
Go ahead, MJ.
I have one more thing. I have to compliment Amy today. You got a great compliment from somebody that was looking at the website. And it was Wayne West, the realtor, was looking for information and an application for a ZBA, special use permit. And he got in touch with me and he said, whoever's doing your website is doing a great job. So just tell whoever it is. And I said that it was a trustee. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Cool. Thanks,
Virtual
Mary
shout
Jo.
out. There you go. Thank
I'm
you.
glad that things are easy to find there. So good. Good.
And I knew,
Good job, Amy.
Thanks.
I knew we hired the right person for the job.
And the pay is so great.
I was gonna say the price was right too.
Yeah.
Well, pass that along to the whole ComCom. That's really great.
All right, cool.
All right. Good. Would anyone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll offer it.
Rob?
I'll
Second.
second.
Amy? All in favor?
Aye.
So carries. All right. Thanks, everybody. Good meeting.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.